Welcome to the show. It's time to dive in. Talking sports with Evan. Let the fun begin. From the Brewers to the Packers, we cover it all. Wisconsin pride, we stand tall. The baggers on the field making history. With every touchdown, it's a victory. From Camp Randall to the court, we chill out. Wisconsin sports, we make our state proud. Feel the energy, the passion in the air. Join the conversation, we got stories to share. From the Bucks' big wins to the Brewers' great plays, we'll keep you entertained through all the game day. Sports with Evan, it's where we belong. Wisconsin's heart.
Good evening. Happy Monday, a Monday edition of Talking Sports with Evan, and it is a trade deadline edition of Talking Sports with Evan. The trade deadline has come and gone for the Milwaukee Brewers and Major League Baseball in general, and have some thoughts on the deadline and the walk up to the deadline. And if you have your thoughts on the deadline, you can comment on the video on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitter at Evan Witt Sports on X and Talking Sports with Evan on YouTube, or you can text the talk and text line 414-454-9771. Give me your thoughts on how your team, if you're not a Brewers fan, did at the deadline, or your thoughts on what the Brewers did. What are your thoughts on what the Brewers did leading up and today and leading up to the deadline? And I got some thoughts on it. I have a few different directions thought-wise I do want to go with today's show. Also going to talk some WWE Summerslam. That's going to be a little bit later on. So if you're not a WWE person, I'm going to do that later on. And if you are, text me your thoughts on SummerSlam. How would you grade it? A, B, C, D, F? Where would you grade it exactly? And where do you think it could get better? And I got some thoughts there as well. The podcast version of this show can be found on Spotify. 8 a.m. tomorrow is that when that is going to drop. And Spotify is also the place you can find every past episode of Talking Sports with Evan. The same with YouTube and X. No longer go live on Facebook for reasons, but they take videos down after so long anyway. But the trade deadline for the Brewers. Today, they get pitcher Antonio Zentella from the Rockies for a minor league left-handed pitcher in Mark Manfredi and shortstop Juan Martinez. Prior to that, they traded for starting pitcher Dustin May and bullpen pitcher JoJo Romero for Alexander Fires, who is now St. Louis's number 4 prospect, and Josiah Ragsdale, who is now their number 10 prospect. So the Brewers gave up a little bit for Dustin May and JoJo Romero. Didn't give up much for the other pitcher. And when I'm talking Brewer deadline, I think we can put into the conversation the trade for the pitcher who's no longer on the team. We got this. I think that's what we can talk about. And when I look at the deadline, I give the Brewers a C. They did fine. They did perfectly fine. There's nothing too sexy about what they did at the deadline. They needed another starter or two. They got one. They needed some bullpen help. They got some. Although one is currently on the IL currently in JoJo Romero. But another lefty out of the pen to go along with your DL Hall and your Aaron Ashby. Now, I think the pitchers that are going to be most affected by these trades for the Brewers. Garrett Stallings, who you can always option back to AAA anyways. Bryce Wilson, who you just brought back from the Cubs, and Grant Anderson. I think those are the three that are most likely going to go when those three guys officially hit Milwaukee. That's where I think is going to be most impacted. And I think they're going to go with a 6-man rotation. And don't be surprised once Harrelson comes back, which now you have to find room for as well. So there'll be another pitcher leaving. Don't be surprised if Sprout or Drohan end up pitching out of the pen moving forward. But I think Stallings, Wilson, and Anderson are going to be your likely guys being gone. After those three, I don't really know who they end up sending out. You have Robert Gasser currently. That could be an option as a starter. You have D.O. Hall, who I think has options. Ashby, who's been pretty dependable until lately, he's got some options. So I don't really know what they do once Harrelson is off the IL later this week. But I think the three that need to be most concerned right now is the three that I mentioned. I think Stallings is still on the active roster. I don't think they sent him back. Maybe they did send him back, but Wilson and Anderson are two definitely that they likely going to be gone. And they don't even have Stallings on the Brewers roster anymore. They have Senzuela on there, and they don't have the other additions yet, except for Antonio. But regardless, I think the Brewers fared a C. Didn't do anything overly sexy. Didn't do anything overly big. Did what they normally do. I think it's better than what they did last year. Shelby Miller, for example, I definitely think it's better than what they did last year. But they strengthened the rotation and the bullpen potentially. And those are two areas they're going to need on lock come postseason. What I wished they would have done, they do need another bat. Preferably a third baseman. And I know there weren't really a lot of options for third base that made a lot of sense because the option the Phillies did, the move the Phillies made, he can play third base, but he's a second baseman. And he doesn't really have a lot of pop in his bat. And Luis Arias, he hits it for average, 324 batting average, but he doesn't have much for power. He's got 4 home runs on the year. Yeah, he can hit singles, but the Brewers have guys that can do that. Maybe not a 324 pop, but they got guys that can hit singles. They need some guys that can get the people on base home. And offensively, though, we're going to be hoping and depending that Jackson Chiriot, Contreras, Yelich get out of their slumps. Garrett Mitchell continues to play well. Luis Flores, Cooper Pratt, Sal Frelick comes back strong. Bryce Terrain continues to be an MVP caliber. So we're going to see offensively, though, other than a couple of spots, right field and short, well, we're going to hope that guys just play better the second go around in the postseason. And the Brewers are still the top team in the division. They still have the top record in baseball currently. Yes, the Cubs made a lot of moves, but the Cubs made a lot of moves because they had to. I don't know if the Cubs made close the 6.5 game gap moves, but the Cubs made moves out of desperation. Their pitching staff was hot garbage, and it's still not great. They just traded for a bunch of names we all know. But I wish they would have traded for a bat. I wish they would have traded for somebody that could come up with a huge hit when they need it most. We need Jake Bauers to continue to be the Jake Bauers we've been seeing. We need, Jackson Cheerios played really well in the postseason. We need to see Jackson Cheerio play really well in the postseason again. But the Brewers, like the Packers, are playing a big what-if game. But a move I'm glad they ended up not making, having a couple of nights to sleep on it, is Skubal. And I know there's a lot of talk and conversation among the social media baseball. And you don't trade a guy you have control over for the next 5.5 or so years for a guy you're only going to have for 2 months. And yes, Skubal is a Cy Young winner the last 2 years, but he also had an elbow procedure this year. If the Dodgers trade for him, that elbow gives out. It doesn't cost them anything. They're like, okay, fine. We got a billion other pitchers we can throw out there. If the Brewers trade for him, they trade Logan Henderson for him, and that elbow gives out between now and October, not only do the Brewers lose Skubal, but they traded probably their number 2, number 3 pitcher moving forward, and now they don't have him anymore. Like, we got to stop this. And I don't understand the Tigers in any of this. Why are we selling a 2-time Cy Young pitcher for pennies on the dollar to the Dodgers? You could have got more. You could have reapproached the Brewers, reapproached the Rays, and see if they're willing to up their offer and see if they're willing to top what the Dodgers were willing to give up. But the Tigers chose not to. So we're vilifying the Brewers, we're vilifying the Rays, and we are ignoring the fact that the Tigers are the ones that decided to move him to the Dodgers. And it sounds like they didn't give any team a chance to try to better the Dodgers offer. The Tigers called the Dodgers up on Saturday and said, hey, let's get this deal done. But why is it okay for the Dodgers to give pennies on the dollar, or the Tigers to accept pennies on the dollar from the Dodgers, but all the deals and offers and potential offers I saw involving the Brewers and the Tampa Bay Rays, they had to give up top prospects in baseball. The Dodgers came out and said, we're not including the top prospect in our system for this trade. The Brewers and the Rays said the exact same thing, and the Brewers and the Rays get crucified because they don't want to include their top prospect. Prospects are not just prospects to a team like Milwaukee and Tampa Bay. They got to be selective on which prospects they send out. And today, the Brewers send out 2 outfield prospects because they don't really need – they're full in the outfield right now. They have a lot of outfielders in their system. They have a lot of middle infielders in their system. So they can afford to move those guys. But Jesus Mate, yes, he's a middle infielder, and I'm contradicting myself. But to me, he's a future star. And he can be a third baseman for you too. And you need a third baseman. Andrew Fisher can be a first or a third baseman. And he looks like he has a pretty good pop in his bat. Yes, he's got a hole in his bat that needs some work and adjustment. But I'm not trading Jesus Mate for 2 months of Skubal. I'm not trading Logan Henderson, a bona fide starting pitcher in this league, for 2 months. And the Dodgers did nothing wrong. Yeah, we could crucify the Dodgers. We can blame the Dodgers for ruining the sport of baseball. But hey, they're operating in the same system as every team in baseball can operate in. Yes, the Dodgers have advantages that other teams don't have. but the Dodgers are using every resource possible to improve their roster, improve their team. Brewers, unfortunately, don't have the deep pockets that the Dodgers have. So trading away, your number one prospect and trading away a young, controllable starting pitcher hurts you a lot more than it hurts for the Dodgers who they traded away. At the end of the day, the Dodgers didn't trade away a lot. And again, same with the Rays. So they have to be very selective with who they send out. And at the end of the day, I saw a lot of people unhappy with who the Brewers sent out for May and Romero. But in reality, people weren't going to be very happy no matter what. They weren't going to like who you sent out, because one of the good things we have with technology nowadays, we can watch Brewer minor league games now. We can have a lot more access to Timber Rattler games, to Nashville Sound games, to Biloxi games. We have a lot more access now. So we get to know who these guys are, and we fall in love with them. But it's going to happen. We're going to move guys to try to improve the team. And second year in a row, the Brewers didn't have to give up a lot to try to strengthen some areas. But the Brewers are still better than the Cubs. Don't let anybody fool you. Yes, the Cubs made moves, but like I said, those moves were made out of desperation. The Cubs cleared out their farm system pretty much for desperation, because they need all the help they can get in the pitching area. The Cubs, though, like the Dodgers, the Ricketts family has very deep pockets. The Cubs can absorb sending those guys out better than some of these other teams in baseball. But the Brewers did the best they could. I give it a C. It was an okay moves, okay deadline. I kind of see why they moved Yoho now, because Yoho deserves to be in the big leagues now. I think he's done everything he can at AAA, and the Brewers ended up trading for 2 bullpen arms today. So in a way, they made room for Yoho. I mean, they made room by moving Yoho. So those are my thoughts on the deadline. I think we all need to take a breath. We all need to touch some grass. We all need to relax. And let's just see what happens this last 2 months of the season. And maybe, just maybe, if the Brewers play the Dodgers in the playoffs again this year, maybe, just maybe, they catch guys on bad days and they get some runs scored. But the young pitching for the Brewers need to hold up, though. Even with Scubo, that's my biggest concern with the Brewers, is the young pitching being able to hold up in a deep playoff race. I think we've seen some struggles from Mizorowski at times. Now he looks fresh, aside from when he throws the cutter. Harrelson's elbow, I think, is part of the issue why we've seen problems, and I think that's going to end up being a big break for the Brewers, because now he's going to be coming back this week, and you have him for the stretch run. But buckle up. Deadline's over. Buckle up. It's time to see how far these Brewers can fly. But the Cubs are still not better than the Brewers. Now, moving to SummerSlam. SummerSlam just happened the last 2 nights. And looking at the SummerSlam in general, I think night 1 was okay. It was okay. It wasn't a PLE caliber event. It just wasn't. But I've accepted the fact that since WWE started airing their premium live events on ESPN, that this is going to be the new norm moving forward. We're not going to have anything fun or exciting on these shows. There was poor build to this show again, and the show itself was meh. Liv Morgan and Io Sky, I think, was a good match. Of course, when you had outside interference. I think LA Knight, Soa Keys against the Bloodline, I think was a really entertaining match. And I think they went the right direction with solo LA Knight and Keys winning that match. Gunther and Nick Aldis was fine. Aldis definitely looks like he still has it. The 6-woman tag match, it was okay. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes was a good match. And then Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar was exactly what you wanted. I didn't think they needed Hell in a Cell, but it was decent. So I think night one was fine. It wasn't anything that stood out that was really bad, and there wasn't anything that stood out that was really good. It was fine. Night two better. Kevin Owens returned. Now, what I didn't like about that Fatal 4A match, it's a Fatal 4A match, but we're only going to give you 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And most of the match is going to be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Like, at one point, I don't know where Finn Balor and Gunther even went. Did they go to the bathroom? Did they go get some sodas? Because I didn't see a lot of them after the initial surprise wore off. Baron Corbin, Trick Williams, I think that was a correct move. You don't bring Baron Corbin back and throw him in a title picture the first match back after releasing him and not put the title on him. Chelsea Green definitely deserved to win that match. Now, it shouldn't be the interim women's championship. It should be the women's championship. Like, Rhea Ripley hasn't been around in how long? Like, she should have to give that title up, and it should be Chelsea Green's title moving forward. Danhausen and Dominic Mysterio got about just under 7 minutes, and it was exactly what you figured it would be. Some nice comedy. Chad Gable, great, really good match with Penta. I get they could have used probably another 10 minutes in that match, but it was a good match. And then Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, they stole the show. That was a great match, told a great story, and it was very entertaining. And the nice thing is, no interference from anybody. Nobody on Seth's behalf. The bloodline didn't show up, and it was just Roman and Seth fighting, closing that chapter in their storylines. Do I think we see those two fight again for the championship down the road? Sure. But this was a close that door type match, and I think they put it together perfectly. But overall, night two is better than night one. And it was just okay. And I think for what people are paying for ESPN bundle or the ESPN streaming service to be able to watch the PLEs, I think you got to do better than okay. But it was okay. It was fine. It was safe. But I'm concerned, though, long term, because I think fans are getting tired of the constant same guys over and over again getting the spotlight. And then you hear what Triple H says about, well, these guys need to step up and prove it. We've got like LA Knight who has shown that he is ready for the big stage, but you won't pull that trigger on him. But overall, that's my thoughts. And it was a kind of thrown together last minute show. I wasn't going to go live tonight, but I said, hey, after the trade deadline, I felt I had to give my thoughts immediately. And yeah, I probably will go live again this week, later in the week, to talk Packers and training camp. But I appreciate you all watching. Appreciate you all listening. Appreciate you all being a supporter of the show. I noticed my numbers ticking up. Appreciate it. Keep coming by. Keep watching. Keep listening. And until then, have a great rest of your evening. And I'll be back with you later this week.